From his iconic Prefontaine-esque dominant front-running style and endless list of titles, to his iconic tattoos and fashion sense on the track, Jakob Ingebrigtsen is considered by many, including myself, to be the GOAT of distance running. Prior to his Achilles injury, he was dominating the distance world in all distance events. It was as if every race was based off of how he was moving that day and what he wanted to do. And today, we're going to go in depth on his story and see kind of like what we can learn from it. Jakob Ingebrigtsen was born on September 19th, 2000 to a highly athletic Norwegian family. His father, Gert, by several sources has been known to be have a bunch of different occupations, but the point is that he himself never had a formal background in athletics. He said in multiple interviews that he never trained or competed seriously as a runner. What set him apart was his self-taught, obsessive approach to coaching. He studied training theories and physiological principles like a scientist, as he read books, followed academic studies, and consumed everything from Arthur Lydiard's long-distance training systems to Marius Bakken's threshold model, which inspired the now famous Norwegian model. Him and his wife Greta raised Jakob alongside his brothers Henrik and Philip, who are also notable in the sport of running. From early on, Jakob trained with his brother. This childhood routine of running and studying under Gert was captured nationally on NRK's reality show Team Ingebrigtsen, which ran for 5 seasons starting in 2018. Through the show, you could see a lot into the world of the Ingebrigtsen family, and it is a great show. Actually, if you're a distance fan, I recommend watching it, especially a fan of Jakob. While most children were playing games or with toys, Jakob's daily life revolved around training and running, as he would often be joining his brothers for intense bouts far beyond just typical youth sports. He later recalled, "I thought about becoming a professional runner when I was 8 years old." Gert kept detailed schedules. Even preteen Jakob was doing treadmill VO2 max tests and running over 120 kilometers per week, equivalent to 75 miles a week, which is equivalent to what a collegiate regimen would be like, and that was before he was in high school. He showed once-in-a-generation talent as a child and was even noted to have a VO2 max score of just over 70 in his preteen years, which is actually crazy considering that most higher-end high school athletes and collegiate athletes share a similar score at much more developed stages of their running careers. The relentless training paid off early, and by age 16, Jakob had some insane accomplishments, as he became the youngest person ever to break 4 in the mile, which is about an average of 59.5 per lap, which is incomprehensible. Under Gert, Jakob's training philosophy was revolutionary. The Norwegian method, pioneered by coach Marius Bakken, built nearly every workout around threshold runs at lactate threshold pace, often twice a day. That gives, given the hints, double threshold, combined with very high mileage. As Gert explained himself in 2023, the training is volume-based and threshold-based. All the years from age 15 and up is stamina and nothing else. The brothers regularly did 2 intense sessions per day, separated by a few hours, often on the track or hills. In short, Jakob's teenage body was built for the long haul, packed with threshold miles instead of fast-burning intervals, which is something that a lot of high school coaches do, where they just burn and slam like race-pace intervals. Psychologically, the environment was intensely controlled. Jakob later testified that he felt that he had no free will growing up in a household where everything was controlled and decided for me. Yet, Gert argued his strictness was about protecting and motivating extremely ambitious children, but we'll get back to that later. Jakob and his brothers have sometimes described the mental atmosphere around training as one of fear and discipline. They had a rule book of unwritten expectations. Every day was different, Jakob testified, and even routine actions like eating or watching TV could earn a scolding one day and praise the next. All that hard training immediately translated into international success. Jakob won his first senior title at age 17, which was a 1500 meter gold at the 2018 European Championships, where he almost accidentally got caught by the crowd behind him, as he has a tendency to kind of slow down and taunt at the finish line. In the development of his fitness, you could gradually see how every time he slowed down, the gap between him and the second place runner got bigger and bigger. 2 years later, he made history at Tokyo 2020. As a 20-year-old, he upended the odds by outkicking favorite Timothy Chariot in the last 200 meters to win the Olympic 1500 meter gold. Doing this, he became Norway's first Olympic champion in the men's 1500 meters. He set an Olympic record time of 3:28.32, which is equivalent to a 3:44.99 mile. Ingebrigtsen became only the third European to win Olympic gold since 1992. He carried that dominance forward. At the 2022 World Championships, he added another major title, winning the 5,000 in Eugene by ripping away and pressing from the front on the back half of the race. This was also impressive because that day it was 95 degrees and humid, which is most likely leads to an elevated heart rate, as your body has to work hard to keep your skin cool. Just running in warmer climates is always harder, so this is very impressive. Jakob has had a rap sheet of accomplishments and achievements, though his career hasn't come without adversity. In 2023 to 2024, Jakob faced new challenges. Kerr beat him in the 1500 meter at the Budapest Worlds and the Paris Olympics, where he missed the podium completely, getting fourth and famously losing the bronze medal to Yara Negus. In the Paris 5K, he bounced back and claimed gold, rebounding from the 1500 meter disappointment. Though he got it back in the 5000, he acknowledged that those losses would haunt him for the rest of his life, quote, which goes to show how much winning truly means to the Norwegian mentality. Behind the scenes, tension had been brewing. In February of 2022, Jakob and his brothers abruptly announced they were breaking with Gert as a coach, citing a previously unknown family conflict. Rumors swirled, and by October 2023, the truth came out in a Norwegian newspaper. Henrik, Philip, and Jakob wrote that they had grown up with a father who has been very aggressive and controlling, and who has used physical violence and threats as a part of their upbringing. They said they still live with the discomfort and fear from childhood, and that recent incidents were the drop that made the cup run over. Days later, Norwegian police charged Gert with abusing two of his children, including Jakob and his sister Ingrid. He pleaded not guilty when his trial began in March 2025. After winning in the 1500 meters and 3000 meters at the 2024 European Indoor Championships, he immediately flew to Norway to give a 4-hour testimony against his father in court. He describes, quote, harrowing stories of violence from his childhood. In court, he recounted that as a young boy, he was once punched and kicked by his father and even threatened with being beaten to death. He testified that one incident began when his father learned about a low grade in school and flew into a rage. Jakob explained that he learned to suppress himself and that he couldn't tell anything positive about that childhood and only about how terrified that he felt. He testified that he eventually stopped calling Gert dad, using his first name instead, because the things that he says and does are not worthy of a father. In his own court statements, he spoke of lacking empathy and caring at home and feeling he had no free will, which we touched on earlier. Gert and his defenders paint a different picture though. Gert has denied ever physically harming his children, saying he was simply an overprotective father and coach trying to channel their extreme ambition. He told the courts he loved his children immensely and became a coach at a very early age for that reason. He pointed out that the kids themselves set very high targets, like district, national, European, world level type stuff, and the tensions arose from those demands. In Norwegian state media, Gert stated how he now realizes that he was being too much of a coach instead of a father, but insisted the allegations of abuse were baseless. Gert was convicted of assaulting his daughter and was sentenced to just serve 15 days in a suspended prison sentence in order to pay $1,010 in compensation. Even though he was convicted of the charge in assaulting his daughter, the court acquitted Gert on all of the charges of abusing Jakob and his brothers due to reasonable doubt. He and his brothers have tried to carry on with training with minimal drama. They even formed their own spring run club in 2025, a new training team open to runners of all levels, in part to focus on giving back to the sport. Jakob has said little in the media about the family rift beyond his testimony. He has expressed remorse that the conflict has dragged on, but emphasizes he must keep training and move on. Today, Jakob's season has been very rough, given he suffered an Achilles injury early in the year, and he pretty much missed all of 2025 outdoor running. Leading up to the World Championships, he started posting a series called Injury Diaries, where he kept fans updated on the status of his condition, documenting training and workouts leading up to Tokyo, which would be his season opener. A notable workout he did was one where he did 20 times 400 meters at altitude and was in seemingly decent shape. He got to Worlds and competed where he actually didn't advance to the 1500 meter final, and he placed 10th in the 5000 meter where he ran 13:02, and Cole Hawker won it to run, I think, 12:58. In this post-race interview, he stated that he would rather be there competing than sitting at home and hating his life. Despite the setbacks, Jakob's perspective shows why he's still one of the greatest of all time to do it in this sport. This season, may have not have brought him a bunch of medals, it may not have brought him a bunch of titles and success like he usually does, but it revealed a deeper depth within him. It revealed that grit that makes champions. One defined by persistence and gratitude rather than just dominance. His willingness to toe the line in less than perfect shape, having basically no base or training or anything like that, to share his journey openly through his injury diaries and show when he is struggling and show when things aren't going well instead of just reporting when they are, proves that his identity is not limited to just victory. Instead, Jakob has shown that even in a season marked by struggle, the heart of a champion is measured by showing up, competing, and finding purpose in the process